Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos and our online worship service for November 1st, 2020. My name is Susan Gisler, and I am on the board of directors at the church, and this year serving as past president. I am so very grateful for our church community and our staff for all the ways we've been able to connect during this COVID isolation time. Through Zoom meetings, through services such as this, for online offerings, we have been able to maintain connections with so many of our members. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of all people, and gather together in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Whoever you are, whomever you love, and wherever you're sitting right now, and wherever you are in your life's journey, we welcome you as part of our community. If you're coming to us for the first time through these video services, I invite you to sign our online guest book and connect with us on our website and our Facebook page. If you have questions about this service or our congregation, please email our minister, the Revjohn Cullinan. His address and the links to this service, our guest book, and other online connections are listed in the service notes below this video. So once again, welcome to our worship, and thank you for joining us.
In this special month, in which everything is a party and dance, we remember with love, traditions, and praise.
You who are broken-hearted, who woke today with the winds of despair whistling through your mind, come in. You who are brave but wounded, limping through life and hurting with every step, come in. You who are fearful with shadows hovering over your shoulders, come in. This place is sanctuary, and it is for you. You who are filled with happiness, whose abundance overflows, come in. You who walk through your world with lightness and grace, who woke this morning with strength and hope, you who have everything to give, come in. This place is your calling, a riverbank to channel the sweet waters of your life, the place where you are called by the world's need. Here we offer love. Here we receive in gratitude. Here we make a circle from the great gifts of breath, attention, and purpose. Come in and let us worship together. Love is the doctrine of this church, the quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve life in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. Thus do we covenant with each and with all. Let us enter into a time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer. Feel the earth beneath your feet as it supports you. Feel the love of this community as it surrounds you and enfolds you, even from a distance. Feel your breath as it flows in and out of your body. Listen to your heartbeat. Listen to your heart. And how is it with your heart? Does your heart feel whole, shielded by intellect, covered by reason, closed to feeling? Or is it broken, fragile to the touch, brimming with the pain of loss? Or has your heart been broken and healed so many times that it now lies open to the world, knowing that true growth comes not without pain, that tears may wear down barriers, that we may carry the hearts of others, even when our own is too heavy for us to bear? None of us has an unblemished heart, not one. For such perfection can be found only in death, and we who are alive still have much to heal. So let us give thanks for the broken places in our hearts and in our lives. For it is only through such brokenness that we may truly touch one another, and only through touching one another that the world may be healed. Let us give thanks for the brokenness that we share. All this we pray in the names of those known and unknown, present and absent, remembered and forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind. Amen. Our reading this morning comes to us from Unitarian Universalist religious educator Dawn Starr Saras Borchelt. Her poem, Tangled. Knit 6, purl 6, sets of 2 rows, 4 rows, 6 rows, up to 12, patterns, repeating, steady, soothingly same. This is not what life is like. Life is like picking up a tousled hunk of yarn pulled out of the basket by an impatient child looking for a string too many times. You find an end. You follow the thread for a while, and sooner or later you hit a tangle, knots and twists and loops all mixed up together. Sometimes I sit there and untangle it, pulling little by little until I have one piece stretched out and can go on to the next one. Sometimes I grab a pair of scissors and cut. Enough. I only need a little anyway. but sometimes I hold the tangle in my hand, amazed for a moment at the complexity, the mess. I look at it and think, this can't be solved. It just is. There are patterns, connections, confusing ones, frustrating ones, the thread turning back on itself as life also does. The tangled things will always be here, in this moment I am living through, right now, whatever comes after. Even if I work through this, even if I cut the cord and walk away, look at the tangled knot in the yarn. Look at how it hurts. Sometime around the 4th month of our pandemic lockdown, I found myself somewhere in the middle of the morning as I scrolled through news and did my work of the day, finding myself with a just boiling under rage, let us call it. I was feeling angry, and I was feeling angry for many hours out of the day, for many days at a time. I was feeling angry all the time. And it was a confusing feeling in the moment to recognize it was happening and to not understand entirely why, until I was reading through some old files and was reminded of the stages of grief, of denial and anger and bargaining and depression and acceptance, and realizing, oh yes, oh my, yes, that is what I'm going through right now, this constant feeling of anger, this being angry every day was a stage of grief that I was going through. I was grieving the time that we were living in. And there was relief in that realization. There was something really powerful in just being able to name that I was grieving and I was in the anger stage. Now, it wasn't a power so great that it made that anger and that grief just magically disappear, but giving a name to what I was feeling in the moment, giving a name to the things that I was losing as a result of this pandemic time and the anger that that was instilling, that was enough to make the feeling manageable, to make the sense of loss manageable, to shift into a realization that this anger was not something I should be ashamed of, that this grief was not something I should not be feeling, but that it was a normal feeling. It was part of a process, part of the process of grieving. And this naming, too, led me to the understanding that I am not alone in this journey of grief in this time. We have all lost so much in these last 8 months. We are struggling with a deep sense of loss and the grief that comes from it. This loss comes from a change in our daily routines, a shattering and a transformation of our sense of what reality is, as we shift into what we are referring to as the new normal, even though we don't have any idea what that new normal might look like. And this grief we are feeling is part of the process by which we adjust to this ever-shifting new reality, to this change in what we see as normal. Grief is the process by which we deal with the shift of reality that is loss. Now, our grief, yours and mine, it is a process. These stages of grief that we go through, we don't go through in a linear order, and we don't go through in a set amount of time. We bounce back and forth between anger and denial and bargaining and depression and acceptance at different times and at our own pace. But we begin the process, all of us, in much the same way. By taking a pause and taking some time to give a name to the things we have lost and the intense emotions we are feeling as a result. And by then maybe leaning into the blessings that come out of acknowledgement of our shared grief. And so I reached out to you all this week to ask you to share with me what it is you have lost in these last 8 months, what sense of loss you are feeling, so that I could weave them into some kind of a ceremonial recognition of our joint losses and our shared grief. And so I'm going to name those today for us. Name the losses, acknowledge the grief. Drop our losses into the well of tears. Acknowledge that we are not alone in what we are feeling, and then end on what hopefully is a blessing for the hope that may yet come. And so let us begin to name our losses and acknowledge our grief. The reality of how we connect with community has changed, has been lost. We acknowledge that technology cannot replace gathering in person in movie theaters and restaurants, in gyms and in libraries. We cannot be together in classrooms in the same way we used to. We miss the camaraderie of team sports and the community pride that comes from watching them. This video worship even cannot fully replace a sanctuary and the experience of breathing and being together. These connections feed our souls, stave off loneliness, and give us a sense of meaning. And we fear how long it may be before we can be together again. We name these losses, and we acknowledge our grief. We have lost close contact with loved ones, coffee with our inner circles, chats in the office with coworkers, a drink and a deep talk with a close friend. These relationships are a chance to know and to be known, to be seen by others as we are, to be vulnerable and more fully ourselves. We name these losses, and we acknowledge our grief. We have lost opportunities to be with family, to travel, to see parents and grandparents, to visit children far away, even to spend time with relatives who are close by, who might need to be isolating. These are the relationships that formed us, the people who gave us our first lessons in love. Our families are a part of us, our hearts walking outside our bodies. And to miss them and to lose contact is to feel a deep pain. We name these losses, and we acknowledge our grief. We have lost the freedom to travel, to see the world outside of our own four walls. We feel our sense of the world shrinking and the horizon closing in. We name these losses, and we acknowledge our grief. We have lost the chance to see art and to make art. Theater, opera, concerts, art galleries. We have lost the connection that comes from singing together. In the making of art, we express the depths of our being. In the consuming of art, we come to better understand ourselves. We long for these opportunities, and we are anxious to grab onto them again. We name these losses, and we acknowledge our grief. We have lost physical touch with others. The hug of an old friend, a comforting hand on a shoulder, a handshake, holding hands in a circle at the end of worship. A loving touch lets us know viscerally that we are not alone. The simple contact of hand to hand can restore the spirit. We name these losses, and we acknowledge our grief. We have lost work, become unemployed or underemployed. And with that comes a loss of security that comes with a paycheck and a sense of purpose and accomplishment too. We worry if there will be work to come when the world starts to reopen again. We name these losses, and we acknowledge our grief. We have lost a sense of solitude and privacy. Even as we grieve a loss of connections, we know that time alone restores the soul as well. Confined to home, even with those we love and trust most, it is hard to find that moment of necessary solitude. And we feel some guilt, too, at wanting that solitude so much. We name these losses, and we acknowledge our grief. We have lost a sense of safety in the world. We worry about our health and our security out amongst other people. Some of us may fear for our safety in our own homes. We look out at the world and see the hate and the division that rises at a pace often faster than the virus spreads. And we take onto ourselves the stress of wondering what sort of world we will return to as the disease subsides. And we are losing sleep. We name these losses. And we acknowledge our grief. And we have lost lives. We have lost the lives of those we love to the coronavirus, or we have seen a diminishment in quality of life as loved ones struggle with recovery. And still we have lost loved ones to the ever-present cycle of life and death. We have been cheated of our chances to say our goodbyes as we might wish. We have not been able to memorialize those we have lost as we would choose. We name these losses and acknowledge our grief. This is not an exhaustive list. This is not everything we grieve for. And so I ask into the silence, call into your heart the losses you wish to name. Speak them aloud if the Spirit moves you. We name these losses and acknowledge our grief. But even in our loss and in our grief, let us look to one another to know we are not alone and to ask for a blessing. Spirit of life, gracious source of all love, it is through our connections in your web of all that is that we come to know ourselves as not alone. Let us remember in this moment that even in the naming of our losses, even in the labor of our grieving, we are not alone, but bound together in an unending love. We give thanks this day that our broken hearts are still beating. Give us a wide space in the days to come to grieve as we must. Help us to remember that everything we feel in these times of chaos and stress is normal and necessary. Help us to find the strength and the resolve to claim what we need to move through our grief as we see fit. Give us enough insight to find those moments of joy and delight that are food to our souls. And let us not shame ourselves or others when we give expression to that inevitable joy. Let us remember that even in time of deep loss and pain, that we belong to one another, that you are ours and we are yours, and that while we may not be ready to hope, hope will yet be there for us because of that belonging. May we still, despite all of our loss, all of our grieving, be the hands of your unshakable love. May it be so. Amen. Just a few announcements before we close today's service. With the colder weather moving in, the Espanola Pathway Shelter has put a request out for donations of specific items. There is a whole box just outside of the front door at the church for donations. We are seeking warm clothing, sleeping bags, blankets, jackets, thermal wear, socks, and things like that to help guests stay warm during their cold winter months. Please give if you can. They are also accepting cash donations. Watch the weekly announcements email for the link to make a direct donation to Espanola Pathways Shelter. Our next Soul Matters Circle on the theme of healing will take place on Thursday, November 19th at 7 p.m. The materials to prepare for this month's circle will be out tomorrow, Monday, the 2nd of November. Watch your email and the postings in our virtual fellowship hall on Facebook for those. And again, if you have any questions about the Soul Matters sharing circles, please contact me with your questions. And now it is time to give something of the gifts of this community back to the larger community of which we are a part. It is time for our offering. During the month of November, all monies collected through the Givelify app will be given to our partners at the Roadrunner Food Bank of New Mexico, who are providing food to hundreds of affiliated member partners around the state, including food pantries, soup kitchens, shelters, and regional food banks. The offering will now be accepted. Please use your Givelify app or use the link below to make your gift. And may what you give bring you joy and a deeper relationship with this community. Friends, may life bless us and keep us. May the light of life shine upon us and out from within us and be gracious to us and bring us peace. For this is the day. This is the one wild and precious life we have been given. So let us all find a way to rejoice and be glad in it. Go in peace.